Saturday edition of The Handle here on DraftKings Network and VSiN. Matt Brown, Mike Somich coming to you from Las Vegas. The band's back together. We're on the desk together here. It's kind of a big day for this fella to my left. If much as you love anything, this man loves today more than anything on the face of the planet. Yes, it is Kentucky Derby Day. We will talk a ton of Kentucky Derby, as you would imagine. However, we do have other sports going on here, Mike. So we got to get into some of these other sports and some of the stuff that we saw yesterday. The Mavs do eliminate the Clippers. What do we get out of that from the Mavs moving forward? What does this Clippers team look like moving forward as well? If you guys haven't been following what's going on with that saga, Paul George is a free agent. James Harden is a free agent. Kawhi Leonard can't stay on the court. There's all kinds of stuff going on there as well. What's going on with the coach? We hear that maybe Ty Lue might. So there's all kinds of things going on there in LA. But let's just start with the Mavericks and what we saw from them.
I thought we saw the Maverick team we were looking forward to seeing. Luka's still not quite right. 1 for 10 from 3. He needs to get that knee figured out before this big second-round matchup they've got with Oklahoma City. But this is the Mavericks team that everyone talked about heading into the playoffs. One that could rebound, one that could play defense, that has multiple scoring options between Luka and between Kyrie. I was really impressed with the Mavs were able to do in this spot, and I was impressed with how they responded specifically in those last two games. The Game 4 loss was a tough one. They got down 31 early, came all the way back. Kyrie made that ridiculous layup, but then they kind of blow the game late to James Harden. I thought this was a much better defensive team the last two games than what we saw in that Game 4 performance, and that's going to be the key for the Mavericks. They can score. That's not an issue. When you have Luka, when you have Kyrie, you're going to get good shots. They've got role players that can hit threes around them. The question is, are they going to be able to consistently defend? OKC is going to be a big-time test for them, but now we look back at that trade deadline, and the size that the Mavericks added and the size that OKC didn't add, is that going to be a key to the series?
Yeah, you take a look and you go through this box score, and if we were to read to you that Luka Doncic was 9 of 26 from the floor, he was 1 of 10 from 3, you would say, oh, they probably lost.
Yeah.
They probably lost. They probably didn't get it done. Instead, you have a guy like Kyrie Irving who can step up, goes for 30. You have some of the role players step up because you lose Maxi Kleber early on in the game as well. Takes a nasty fall, doesn't come back in, only plays 5 minutes in this game, and still able to get the double-digit win here over the Clippers. And, you know, one of the things you and I talked about with this Mavericks team was they do have two very elite scorers. And if both of them are scoring, it's going to be tough to beat them no matter what. But you do have a backup plan with this team, which a lot of teams don't really have. And so you see that play through in this one. They get the 13-point win over the Clippers. And as we said, we'll talk about the next season whenever this season is over with, but what's going on with the Clippers, we have no idea.
Yeah, it's full turmoil.
Yeah.
Paul George and Harden both kind of mum about what their plans are for the future. Do you really want to play with Kawhi Leonard? He's awesome when he's on the court. He's not on the court in the playoffs. It's a problem.
What did they say? The best ability is dependability, and is just not very dependable.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I love the point, too. Like, Luka started out hot in that game. And then he cooled off, and Kyrie just picked up the team in the second half. And there aren't a lot of teams that have those two type options, where if one's going, great. If the other's going, if the one cools off.
Kyrie had 2 at halftime.
Yeah, and then he ended up with 30. He had 28 in the second half. So it's like, Luka didn't shoot the ball well in the second half. Guess what? You couldn't stop Kyrie.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Look, do I think this Mavericks team have what it takes? No, I do not. Like, I don't think that they have what it takes to win at all, but they're fun. They're fun. I hope Luka's not. Honestly, more than anything, I just hope Luka's not banged up.
I was optimistic after Game 5 because his defense came back in Game 5, and I feel like his defense is really where you can judge how his knee is doing, because that takes a lot of effort. You're forced into a lot of different positions. You don't know where you're going. You're responding versus being able to set the tempo and decide where you're going and what moves you want to make. He looked good in Game 5. Did not look as good in Game 6. Hopefully a little time off sets him up well, because we've got 2 banger series here in the West.
Magic go out. They force Game 7. They hold the Cavs for under 100 points for the 5th time in 6 games. We talked about how important that was on the defensive side of the ball for this Magic team. And here it go again with a Cavs team that unable to break into 100 points, and we get a Game 7.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on, Magic. Let's close this. It feels like the Magic can take one in Cleveland. It does not feel like Cleveland could take one in Orlando. That's how we've played out so far. The Magic had every chance in Game 5 to take control of this series. Weren't able to do it. Now it all comes down to one game. Man, I still like the Magic. I can't quit them. I can't. I bet them 5 of the 6 games in this series. I just can't help myself. I think they're the better team. We'll see if they can finish it out in 7.
Another Herculean effort from Donovan Mitchell. No good. 50 points in this game. He shoots 36 times and makes 22 of those 36 shots, and still not good enough to get it done. 103-96 in that one. So we do get us a Game 7. Of course, we will preview that one when the time comes. Knights score 50 minutes into Game 6, Mike. They force a Game 7. We get another Game 7, this one on the ice.
Oh, we do, and that's going to be a phenomenal Game 7 as well. We saw the Stars respond well after going down 0-2, push the Golden Knights to the brink. A phenomenal hockey game. Like, both games last night, no goals until the last 10 minutes in the third period of both those games. Both great hockey games. I'm really excited to see what happens here. There's all the pressure in the world on the Stars here to win in Game 7. They were the 1 seed in the West. They know they are a real Stanley Cup team. Honestly, the Golden Knights could be too. If they get the goaltending, that's the key with them. If they're able to get the goaltending,
decide who they want in the goal.
Well,
they've been flip-flopping that as well.
A couple, we'll talk about the Bruins-Leafs here in a second too. When you have, it's kind of like you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't really have one. When you have 2 goalies, do you really have one? You know, you kind of need someone to get hot here. We'll see if that's going to be the case for the Golden Knights heading into Game 7, but that's going to be a banger.
Pour a little out. Pour a little out here for our Predators tickets. We'll just pour some out. R.I.P. Predators tickets.
So frustrated with the Predators. They should have won Game 3. They definitely should have won Game 4. They had every chance to win last night, and yet we lost the series 4-2.
Canucks get it done on the road, and our Predators long shot tickets, they are kindling now.
Yeah. They'll keep you warm in the winter. That's about it.
With that, and a quick shout out, Chris Kim. If you've never heard of Chris Kim, I understand why. He is a 16-year-old amateur golfer who just made the cut at the Byron Nelson. He went 7 under for the first 2 rounds here, Mike. The youngest to make a cut on the PGA Tour since 2015 when another 16-year-old made the cut. But a 16-year-old, 7 under playing with the big boys over there in Dallas.
Pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. I feel like we're going to have some very good golfers coming up with this generation.
I think so as well, because it is, like I said, Tiger taught the generation of the guys that are good now how to be better golfers. And then now these kids all understand. They see these guys working out. They see the regimen. They see the importance of nutrition and importance of all these other things that generations when you and I were growing, we thought it was funny when guys were like smoking and drinking and all this stuff out on the court, but out on the course, but that's not the case anymore.
No shot to golfers in the 90s and the 80s. Golfers are athletes now.
Yes.
They were not athletes before, and golf also became cool. And when you combine golf becoming cool with people actually treating it like an athletic sport, you're going to see some very, very good golf.
Each and every Saturday and Sunday, we have 5 things that we look to bet.
All right, classic. High five.
It's time for the Handles High Five.
High five. All right.
Number 1.
You guys already know this. We're not going to spend a bunch of time on this because we're going to talk a ton about it's Derby Day. We're going to have a lot of people join us. We're going to be talking a lot of horses today.
Yeah, we're going to run through the entire field. We're going to talk best bets, win bets, exactas. I'm going to give out a superfecta as well that hopefully hits for a few thousand for everybody.
There we go. Maybe even 5 figures. Who knows?
Well, we do have a alternate superfecta.
Yes.
One where we run out both favorites that will pay stacks if it comes in. We'll just put it that way.
That's all we're trying to do here, guys. If you're betting once a year on horses, try to match
play a lotto ticket. Play a lotto ticket.
Do something like that. Let's keep it going.
Number 2.
Timberwolves and the Nuggets get going today at 7 p.m. Eastern. We will preview this game and the series overall, but a very interesting one here, Mike. You got some size on that Timberwolves side. They can throw multiple looks at Jokic, and could make this thing interesting.
I am very excited to see how this series plays out. I mean, everyone loves the Nuggets, and they should. They're obviously last year's champion, but the love for the Timberwolves that has swelled up since they beat the Suns is a little overboard in my mind. It was the Suns. Can we calm down? Can we pump the brakes a little bit? This is a much better Nuggets team. Jamal Murray's health obviously going to be an issue throughout this series. Not a very deep Nuggets team, so they need him to make sure he can keep going. And then Anthony Edwards, the best watch right now. Not the best player, but the best player to watch right now in the NBA, gets to go head-to-head with the champions. Can he arrive early?
Nuggets minus 205 in that series. Keep it going.
Number 3.
We got us a Game 7 over on the ice. Maple Leafs and the Bruins. Yes, a Game 7 for us sports fans out here. And listen, I know you're not happy if you're a Boston Bruins fan. That's for sure. You're not happy that this is happening, but for us as sports fans, we're happy this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great game, right? These are two franchises that absolutely do not like each other one iota. This is a Bruins team that had a 3-1 lead last year to the Panthers, blew that in 7. This is a Leafs team that hadn't got out of the first round for, I think it was 7 straight years, until last year where they finally got out of the first round. Well, we got some drama around Austin Matthews. We'll see if he's able to go. He's missed the last 3 with an illness. He's iffy for tonight, according to the coach. What more could you want here? This is just a phenomenal hockey game.
As we sit right now, minus 130 for the Bruins, plus 110 for the Leafs, and the very rare flat 5 on the total here in this one.
Flat 5 juiced like crazy to the over. This was 5.5 this morning. We've seen both the under and the first period under get bet down in this series. If you look at the expected goals in the first period in the last 3 games of the series, not over 1.
Keep it going.
Number 4.
UFC 301 kind of falling under the radar here. It's down in Rio, so they're kind of taking a backseat here to the other stuff that's going on. But Brian Petrie going to join us a little bit later, run through the main card here and get his picks on what's going to happen from Rio.
I didn't even know UFC was going on today.
I know. This is a different type of week for you, buddy. I know. UFC 301, and we're gonna come in. We're gonna see what Brian has to say about it. You can tail his picks. I didn't really get into it a ton either with all the other stuff that's going on in the sports world. So we'll see what Brian has to say about everything. Let's wrap it up.
Number 5.
More markets over in the NFL, Mike. We love it. We like that they're getting up super early. In this one, we're going to discuss who's going to start week 1 for the Broncos, the Vikings, the Steelers, other teams as well. We're going to prognosticate on who's going to win that week 1 job.
I love it. It goes into what we talked about last week around over, under, and yardage total. This is a big part of whether or not you can go over your total is when you actually start playing.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun talk here because some of these, maybe we can talk ourselves into a scenario that we would want to bet maybe the underdog here. Some plus money bets getting into our account. But, guys, it is Derby Day. I got the man to talk to about this here to my left. We get into the Kentucky Derby in earnest here when we come back on The Handle.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Somich on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hey, Mike Somich, when people are not listening to us on their radio, when they go home and they get in front of their computer or they're on their mobile phone, I don't know, maybe in the bathroom or something. We know everyone pulls over the mobile phone when they're on the bathroom.
Yeah, true.
You should go to VSiN.com, and what are they going to find over there on VSiN?
Oh, they're going to find best bets. They're going to find betting splits, exclusive articles. You're going to get betting guides. You're going to get tutorials, educational articles as well. If you want to learn how to bet the horses, you can head over. There's a video series right now on VSiN.com.
All of that over on VSiN.com. And not only that, it's got a fresh new look, and it functions better as well on your mobile phone when you are sitting there wasting time when you should be doing something else. So go on, VSiN.com, VSiN.com. Check everything out over there. It is The Handle here on a Saturday. Matt Brown, Mike Somich coming to you on Derby Day. And yes, we are going to get into it right this very second. So going to start at the top. If you have not been following along, we're going to pretend as if you are coming in completely cold here. So, Mike, the story heading into this one, Fierceness, a horse that everybody has said is super, super special, yourself including. We see the dreaded post 17 that no one's ever won out of. Then we get a scratch. So no longer the case. Not going to be going out of 17 anymore. We'll slide in one with all of this, going off as the favorite, no doubt, by the time that this thing happens this afternoon. Talk about Fierceness just in general and why we say that this horse is a special horse.
Well, the easiest way to put it, first off, if you compare Fierceness to the last 2 Triple Crown winners, Justify and American Pharoah, Fierceness was a better horse heading into the Derby than either of those horses were. From a numbers perspective, be it time form, be it buyer, this is a better horse than our last 2 Triple Crown winners. The knock with Fierceness, he's got 3 phenomenal races where he won all of them. He's got 2 really bad races, and he's run 5 times. So it feels like it's feast or famine in a lot of ways for Fierceness. Now, both losses come with excuses. There's reasons that he didn't run well, but this is a Kentucky Derby. You're going to face some adversity at some point in this race. You're going to have a reason to lose. It's can you overcome that and can you win? I love the post for him. I think he wants to be outside. He doesn't want to get in the traffic on the inside. And when you have the best horse, you want to be in the clear. You want to get in the least trouble as possible. And that's what this post offers you. And it's interesting. We've got 5-2 on the morning line. Right now in the pari-mutuel market, he's up to 7-2. Okay. So you're getting money bet on a lot of these other horses. Okay. And there's the Rich Strike effect from 2 years ago when he wins at 80+1. A lot of people are betting $10 on every one of the long shots. They want a big number to root for. They don't want to bet the favorite, and it actually gives you value to come in and bet the favorite.
So let's go to Sierra Leone. Next one on the board here. Cost $2.3 million for Sierra Leone. A very expensive pony going in this one. 4 races, 3 wins, and a second. So has been there every single time here, Mike. That said, does draw an inside post there at number 2, which if you're looking again at a knock on Sierra Leone, that could be where you start.
It is, and that's going to be the key for Sierra Leone is what we mentioned, the trip that Fierceness wants. He wants to be able to stay clear. Sierra Leone wants to close. He is going to drop all the way to the back of the pack. I expect Sierra Leone to be last under the wire the first time. So he's going to have to pass 19 horses, and it's going to be tough for him to do that with his specific style. He's a very big horseman, really built, right? And when he gets rolling, he is very fast. It's just that he doesn't stop and start very well. So if at any point during this race he gets stopped, it's going to be a big problem for him. The 2 posts, the 1 through 4 posts, not good posts to have in the Kentucky Derby because you've got 20 horses. And all of these horses are taught when they break to go to the inside. Well, there's basically a wave of horses that crushes down on the rail horses. If you don't break sharp, if you don't break forward, you're going to get pinched back even more. That's what's going to happen to Sierra Leone. Now, this is what he wants to do, so the argument could be made that's not as big of an issue for him as some others, but the problem for me is how you get through the traffic. How are you able to make sure this horse's momentum never stops? And if it does, is a situation where you have to go 10 wide, 12 wide on that second turn, which is likely. Is he going to be able to make up that much ground against the horses that are in front of him if he's losing that much ground on the turn?
Then the only other single digit that we have on the morning line, Catching Freedom, a Brad Cox horse, 5 starts, 3 wins in 5 starts, on the podium on the 4th race, but not on the 5th. The 5th race didn't quite get there. What do we see here in Catching Freedom?
Catching Freedom, a really interesting horse. These are the same connections that brought you Angel of Empire last year. That was your Louisiana Derby. I'm sorry, that was your Arkansas Derby winner. Catching Freedom wins the Louisiana Derby and does it in impressive fashion. And this is one of 2 horses here that mentally has caught up to the rest of the field over the last 2 starts. If you go back and you watch the Risen Star with Catching Freedom, really goofy, kind of runs inside, runs outside, switches leads, their lead foot in the stretch multiple times, kind of weaving a little bit. You fast forward to the Louisiana Derby, everything clicked. And this horse was able to figure it out, run straight, run fast down the lane. And there's a little more versatility in Catching Freedom than a lot of people are talking about. It's a horse that broke poorly and got pinched in the Louisiana Derby. That's why he was so far back. He has the ability to sit mid-pack, and then you get Flavian Pratt aboard, who, for my money, the best jockey that you could want in the Kentucky Derby. He's been in the Derby 6 times. He's got to win, and he's hit the board 5 of those 6 times. That means he's figuring out good trips. The question, again, for Catching Freedom is he going to be stuck on the rail? Because last year with Angel of Empire, he was a 16 horse, was outside. He had the options. Okay, do I want to go to the hole to the inside? Do I want to go to the hole on the outside? He could make decisions. When you're on the rail, your choice is to stay where you are or go to one to the outside. You're not able to kind of weave through traffic as much when you're pinned inside.
We do have a video series out there with Mike explaining the basics of everything that comes to horse betting. You'll hear us talk about the winner a ton, but there's also multiple different ways you'll hear them referred to as exotics, as to ways that you can bet the race today. And look, Mike, at the end of the day, everybody does love Fierceness. Fierceness is not going to go off and make you a bunch of money if you just bet Fierceness to win. You could bet a lot and still not win a lot on Fierceness if Fierceness ends up winning this horse. And so now we start to look in some of these other markets, exactas, trifectas, superfectas, and these are, again, the exotic markets, and these are different types of bets that you'll talk about over the course of the day. A lot of people will talk about over the course of the day, which does at least increase the payouts.
It does, and it increases them exponentially, especially in the Kentucky Derby. When you have 20 horses, that means there's a lot of options to put underneath on these tickets, and it costs more money every time you add another horse in any one of those spots because you're essentially creating a new bet. So if you played, an exacta 17 with 4, 7, 8, you actually played 3 separate exactas. 17 with 4, 17 with 7, 17 with 8. And if you're doing that in the trifecta and the superfecta, each time you add a horse underneath, your ticket is going to cost more. So you've got to be careful with how many horses you want to add. But the beauty of it is, with 20 horses in the field, you're going to have a lot more variance in there. And if you can run one of the favorites out, if you pick Sierra Leone or Fierceness, you say, I'm not going to use one of them, it really juices the payups out because a lot of people are going to automatically use both those horses. So you can find a way to be a little contrarian even if you have the favorite on top.
we got to get rid of all the lingo here. I know horse racing's old, and I know it should make this much easier on people. We don't need to call it an exacta. We don't need to call it a trifecta. So it's like, hey, winner in second place, winner in second place and third place, and the top 4 horses in a row. And that's where we are with all of that. Right. Exacta 1, 2, trifecta 1, 2, 3, superfecta 1, 2, 3, 4. You will hear a lot of people talk about boxing, Mike, as well. So again, guys, if you go in, you can bet just $1 and you can pick 4 horses. Tickets only cost you $1, but it literally has to go that horse, that horse, that horse, that horse. You can throw in a box situation in which any combination of the horses you put in the box still wins you the bet.
Exactly. It's like an insurance bet, right? You don't have to pick them in the exact order. Let's say you like the 2 and the 4, right? You like Sierra Leone, you like Catching Freedom. You bet a $1 2-4 exacta box. Well, you actually made 2 bets. 2-4, 4-2. Those are your 2 exactas. So they can come in either order. You can do that with trifectas. You can do that with superfectas, but it does get expensive. A 3-horse trifecta box would cost you $6 because there's 6 possible combinations. Yeah. A 4-horse superfecta box would cost you $24 because there's 24 possible combinations. They run first through fourth. And that's why I like picking 1 horse on top and then spreading out more underneath because it brings the cost of your ticket down.
Right. And that's, again, guys, that is when he says on top, the horse to win, and then the combinations start to come in below that. So, Mike, let's just go to we'll get your picks throughout the course of the show. We got 3 hours to talk about all of this. But, again, if we're talking about who's going to win this, I know it seems boring. It seems like you really do like fierceness here.
I really do like fierceness. This is just a situation where anyone in the field needs to improve 10% to beat him.
Yeah.
And so it's whether or not he gets the trip. If he gets the trip, he wins by open lengths. That's how I feel. And so if I'm getting 3-1 on what I consider a 50-50 proposition, that seems like a pretty good thing to be betting. And I realize it's more fun to pick a long shot. And I have not picked the favorite in 7 years. This is the first time in 7 years. The first time since Justify I've picked the favorite. He's the best horse. It's hard to get around him. I need to create a scenario in my head that gets him beat. So I am going to put fierceness on top, but I'm going to take a shot with that superfecta that we were talking about. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the correct order. I'm going to put fierceness, the 17 horse, on top. Then I'm going to put 3 horses to finish second. Either the 4, Catching Freedom, the 7, Anna Marie, or the 8, Just a Touch. And then we're going to put 5 horses in third and 5 horses in fourth. And that's going to be the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, and the 8. So if you want to bet that, it's a $1 superfecta, but it's going to cost you $36 to bet it. But if you boxed all 5 of those horses, you're looking at a $60 ticket.
Right.
So by eliminating a couple in those first 2 spots, by taking my opinion and pressing it, you're cutting down that cost of your ticket.
Yeah, so this is all just kind of optimizing how we can get the most bang for our buck here because, guys, as Mike mentioned, you can get carried away, and the next thing you know, you have spent $1,000.
Oh, yeah.
I have done it before. Yes, I have done it before where I'm kind of like, I'm going to box this, I'm going to box this, I'm going to box this. How much, sir? And they're like, that'll be $1,100. And I'm like,
I will not box that.
All right, then. $1,100. Well, maybe I didn't do this the correct way when it all comes in. Guys, we're going to talk about every horse in the field over the course of the show, but when we come back, of course, we've got to get to the NBA.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summich on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Mike, people have been listening to us for a long time now, but maybe they wonder what we look like. There's a way that you can find out what we look like, and you become a VSiN Pro subscriber. And with that VSiN Pro subscription, you actually get a video feed of all the shows that we do. And we're going to give you an offer that we have never offered before, Mike. We're not going to give you 12 months for $199, which is what we have been basically doing and saying for like the last 6 months on it. 14 months for $199. That is 2 months absolutely free at VSiN.com/subscribe. But that's only if you use a promo code handle.
HANDLE.
HANDLE. If you do not use a promo code handle, I don't know what's going to happen. Whatever you type in, we can't guarantee that you're going to get the 14 months for $199.
I've been told all the other promo codes aren't working. Yeah, so you've got to use the promo code handle, HANDLE. And just so you know, 14 months, that means you get 2 Kentucky Derbies, 2 Preaknesses, 2 Belmonts. That means you get 2 NBA Finals, 2 NHL Finals.
Look at this.
Everything through the football season. Let's go.
All of this. So, guys, be sure, $199 for 14 months, VSiN.com/subscribe. Promo code handle, HANDLE. Matt and Mike here. We're going to make sure that each and every horse in the field gets some love, so we'll talk about another horse here in just a second. But we do have race number 5, Turf Sprint, coming up, and you like a horse in this race.
I do. We've got about 5 minutes to post here. By the way, love seeing horse racing in the sports book all day. This is phenomenal here. Good job, Circa. We got about 5 minutes to post in the Turf Sprint here. 5.5 furlongs on the turf. We've got Notorious returning from the Breeders' Cup. Got a brutal trip that day. Was the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Comes back today. The 4-horse here now 7-2 on the board right now. I'm surprised we're getting 7-2. I thought we were going to get somewhere closer to the 2.5 to 1, 2 to 1 range. So let's take a win bet here on the number 4, Notorious at 7-2.
There we go, guys. Number 1 post Dornoch is about 20 to 1 on the morning line here. Mike, 6 races, got into the podium 5 of the 6 times. Full brother to Mage, who won last year. If you guys are wondering, what do we get here in Dornoch?
Well, we got a speed horse, right? And a lot of people are going to talk about the pace of the Derby because it's a huge factor in how it plays out, who's able to win from what positions. And Dornoch is one of those horses that's going to go toward the front. I don't think has any chance to win. I don't think has any chance to hit the board. This is a horse I like playing against in matchups if that's available to you. I think Dornoch is going to absolutely gun it out of that one post and then absolutely fold like a lawn chair around the far turn. Too bad we can't
bet like winner at the halfway mark. We got to start adding these new exotic markets in, right?
I haven't seen that market. You can bet horse to finish last. Don't hate Dornoch at 13 to 1 in that market. And you can play matchups. And I think those are the 2 best ways to fade Dornoch.
There we go. Mystic Dan starting out of 3, about 20 to 1 on the opening line there as well. 6 races, only 2 of those wins.
Yeah, Mystic Dan, one of the horses you're going to hear about a lot if it rains. This horse popped his career best effort over a sloppy track in the Southwest at Oaklawn Park. There's a couple factors as to why, so I don't have that race as highly regarded as some other people. It was set up perfectly for him, got a beautiful rail trip, never had to lose an inch of ground. I also hate the post for this horse. We talked 1 through 4, very bad posts, especially since we went to 20 horses in the Derby. And Mystic Dan is a stalking type, meaning that he wants to sit like 4th or 5th. That's the worst possible thing from the 3 posts, because if you don't get out early and up front, you're going to get caught in that wave. And so Mystic Dan, who wants to be somewhere between, I'm going to say 4th and 8th in this race, probably ends up somewhere between 12th and 16th around the first turn. That's a problem for Mystic Dan.
We do have Timberwolves and Nuggets coming to you, getting this series started about 7:10 Eastern, as we said, sitting 4.5 right now in favor of the Nuggets. If you want that 4.5 with the Timberwolves, juiced a little bit to -115. 208.5 is your total. If you think the Timberwolves win this thing outright, +154. And as we mentioned, over on the series price, Nuggets -205. If you think the Timberwolves win this series, +170. So, Mike, I mean, I think a lot of this is going to come down to how this Timberwolves team, who was the number 1 defensive team over the course of the entire NBA season, is able to guard Nikola Jokic. This is a guy that it seems like no matter what teams throw at him, over and over and over again, Jokic just figures out a way. He's such a good distributor as well that if he realizes somewhere along the way that he doesn't have to be the primary scorer, then he might end up with 16 assists in this game as well. So I think, one of the unique things that the Timberwolves do bring to the table for this, they have 3 legitimate bigs. They've got Gobert, they've got Cat, and they also have Nasri. They have 3 legitimate bigs that are going to be on the court a lot, that maybe they try to throw different looks at Jokic so that he can't just settle into the distributor role, or he can't settle into the scorer role, or whatever it might be. I'm very, very curious as to how that goes, because I think that's going to be really the most pivotal thing here is it we're just going to put Cat out there and just pray that Cat can get it done, or we're going to go Gobert, or whatever. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Wolves go about this.
It is going to be very interesting because you like Gobert, your defensive player of the year, right? So ultra talented defensive guy. I don't love the matchup for him with Jokic, because Jokic can pull him out, right? And Jokic they run a lot of pick and rolls with Murray. We've seen Gobert get exposed when he was on the Jazz in these pick and roll matchups. I think this could be a problem for Minnesota that a lot of people aren't talking about, is that I'm not sure how they keep both Towns and Gobert on the court at the same time and have success on both ends of the court against this Denver team. And the momentum for the Timberwolves, I'm not surprised by it, but I do think it's gotten a little out of hand. Yes, they swept the Suns. Yes, Anthony Edwards was phenomenal. That Suns team was a mess. Yeah. I mean, they were relying on Bradley Beal to be their point guard, their main ball handler early in that series. I'm not sure that the Timberwolves are as good as they looked in that first series. And I thought Denver played very well against the Lakers. I thought the Lakers played their A game in 4 of the 5, if not all 5 of those games, and Denver's still able to dispatch them in 5. I'm surprised we're sitting here at 4.5. I thought this would be higher. I thought we were going to see somewhere in the 6. I played some Nuggets minus 4.5 in this spot. I trust the Nuggets more than I trust the Timberwolves for how they're currently being rated in the market.
Yeah, it's interesting for me because I can't get there to bet the Wolves, and specifically in game 1 without me being able to see it with my eyes how they're going to be able to defend Jokic. But I do think that they are built fairly well to contend with this Nuggets squad. Again, we talked about not only most teams only have 1 big. Not only they have 2 bigs, they have 3 bigs that are legitimate 3 dudes that can go and play different roles on the defensive side of the ball. And then Naz Reid on the offensive side, despite being a big, shoots the 3 pretty well. We know Cat also is a pretty good shooter. The problem here is when Cat has been matched up with elite bigs, typically over the course of his career, he's been a little bit better with it of late, but I can't say that it's too small of a sample size. He gets in foul trouble. He's not the greatest defender, so he gets in foul trouble. When he gets in foul trouble, then he gets frustrated. When he gets frustrated, then he stops scoring. There's kind of this whole snowball effect thing with Cat, and I wonder, that's why I'm kind of curious as to maybe this is more of a defensive rotation while they have what they're going to do with Jokic is like, all right, you're going to guard him for a little while, but then we're not going to let you get 3 fouls real quick. Whatever. Guard him for a little while, then we're going to put Gobert in, then we're going to put Naz Reid in. We're going to continue to give him these rotating looks or something. But, if Cat can stay on the floor, he is still a very, very good scorer. And he's a guy that is at a big man position that is one of the very best out there at being versatile. So I just don't know. I can't pull the trigger on this because I've seen this time and time and time again with Cat, right? It's just like he finds himself in bad positions and he gets in bad positions and his attitude goes down the drain. And then, this team could spiral along with him.
Well, that's the problem. It's like, what version of Cat are we going to get? And we talked about this in the first series. I trusted Anthony Edwards to show up in every single one of those games because he is that guy. He wants to play well when the lights are brightest. Cat's not that guy, and he likes being able to sit in this 2 spot. I'm not sure what we get from him in this series, and if he does get frustrated, because it's going to be tough for him no matter who he ends up guarding. If it is Jokic, if it's going to be Aaron Murray, if it's going to be Michael Porter Jr., anywhere he is on the defensive side, they can hunt him if they want to hunt him, and then we'll see how his shot goes on the offensive side, because again, this Nuggets team, which we're not talking about their defense, they've got length too. They're going to be able to stress some of these bigger guys for the Timberwolves as well. I just trust the Nuggets stars and starters more than I trust the Timberwolves starters, because if Gobert is a liability on the defensive end, he's a liability already on the offensive end. And so all of a sudden you're taking one of their best defenders out of the game. Now, Naz Reid, obviously very good, and you mentioned can stretch and shoot the 3. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more Naz Reid in this series and less Gobert.
The interesting thing about Naz Reid, so we're sitting right now, Naz Reid points and rebounds is sitting 12.5. If we believe that his minutes are going to be every bit what we saw, when he was really kind of blossoming there, and we think that we might see a little bit more court time, then this is far too low. If we think it's back to kind of just this 6-man rotation type thing, which I don't think that it's out of the question he could get there, even if it's like that, those type of minutes, he does make the 3. If he hits 2 threes, he's going to get to 13 points and rebounds for sure over the course of this. So I look at this. It's interesting. 12.5 to me, I would almost bet on the over that he does see more minutes and does see a little bit more opportunities. And the fact that he might miss the 3s, but he's probably going to shoot 3 or 4 of them. Yeah, he's probably going to shoot 3 or 4 of them. He makes a couple of those and he cruises here to all this. So that was the one that kind of stuck out to me a little bit if we do believe that the minutes will be there.
I think I like it in the first game. I like it a lot more in the second and third. I think you're going to see some adjustments if you do see the pick and roll from Denver be as devastating as I think it could be early on in this series. And then you look toward Naz Reid and overs in game 2 and game 3, because that's where you'll see his minutes really tick up if they struggle with the pick and roll.
We got us a game 7 over on the ice. Maple Leafs and Bruins coming to you a little bit later as well. We will get Mike's thoughts on that one and look ahead to some of these second round series as well.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summich on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hey guys, you got to go in. You got to get the DK Horse app. Today is the day. If there was ever a day, Mike, go get the DK Horse app. It would be today, the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. As you well know, we are going to go up and down the card. We're going to give you all kinds of different bets that you can throw in there. And when you do go in and get that DK Horse app, we're going to give you a 100% deposit match up to $250. You do have a minimum $25 deposit with a couple times play through there, but use the code VSiNHorse, VSINHORSE, all one word.
All one word.
VSiNHorse. And we're going to give you a 100% deposit match up to $250. You do got to make a $25 deposit through that, a little bit of a playthrough. But this is the day to go get the DK Horse app. Take advantage of all of the features over there.
I got to say, I'm bummed. I cannot, because I am obviously work for DraftKings. I cannot bet on DK Horse. I was messing around with the app over the weekend. It's a phenomenal app. Like, very responsive, very quick, very intuitive. So I was very happy to see what the product is like.
The 5-horse Catalytic, about 30-1 on the morning line. Only 3 races here for Catalytic. Did win one of those. Second in the other 2 as well. No wet track experience, however.
No wet track experience, but is bred to be able to handle it. And Matt, I like this horse a little bit. 30-1.
All right.
We're going to talk about a lot of horses I like here. Cadillac ran second to Fierceness last time in the Florida Derby. That was his first race going 2 turns, and it wasn't exactly a great setup for him. Fierceness goes out, takes the lead. Everyone's chasing him. Catalytic's 4 wide on the first turn, 3 wide on the second turn, still holds off everybody else for second. I think Catalytic has a chance to take a step forward here, and the trip projects to be pretty good. Has tactical speed, so should be forwardly placed. If 1.25 miles is in his range, I think Catalytic has a shot at hitting the board.
6-horse Just Steel, about 20-1 there on the morning line. Wayne Lucas is your trainer. If you've been following along Kentucky Derbies, you are well aware with that. With that name, lots of races here for Just Steel.
Yeah, you're I guess you're veteran in the field with 11 starts here. D. Wayne likes to run them, and that's what Just Steel has done. And this horse just has a ton of heart. Will consistently try through the races. And another one at 20-1, I think is really interesting to hit the board. I don't think this horse can win, but I think there is a good shot that Just Steel is that horse that just kind of hangs around toward the end and runs 3rd or 4th at 20-1. A great horse to round out your supers and trifectas.
See, that's the way we're doing it. We're just trying to figure out how to get some of these horses that maybe won't win, but we just need them to finish inside.
Baby. Let's go
inside of some of the stuff that we're betting. One more that we'll talk about here. Honor Marie, the 7-horse, 20-1 on the morning line. 5 races, 2 wins, 2 places.
One of the 3 horses I think can win the race. 20-1 on the morning line. This horse has gotten bet down. You're seeing more like 12-1, 11-1 right now in the pari-mutuel pool. Honor Marie wants every single bit of ground that he can get, and he will love the 1.25 mile distance today. This is also a horse that's always had a lot of talent, but mentally has not caught up to the rest of the field. That changed in the Louisiana Derby. You go back to the Risen Star, literally didn't run for 1/2 mile in the race. Was just uninterested in what was happening. The Risen Star, we see a very different effort. All of a sudden, the Louisiana Derby, we see a very different effort. The horse dialed in, wanted to run the whole time, enjoyed the extra distance in the stretch out there. And then the last workout at Churchill Downs goes 59 seconds over 5 furlongs. That's faster than expected. You're supposed to go 12 seconds per furlong, so about a second faster than expected. If Honor Marie shows speed today, this horse has a shot to win the race.
Toronto Maple Leafs, Boston Bruins coming to you 8:10 Eastern. This is game 7, -130. Bruins at home, +110. Leafs on the road. The rare flat 5 here over at DraftKings on the total. That said, is juiced very heavily to the over. Mike, we get us a game 7. What do we like here, Leafs and Bruins?
Well, we like the first period under. The juice is getting a little wild here, -140. We'll see if that ticks back up a little bit. But like I mentioned in the open, the last 3 games, the expected goals total for the first period was under 1 in all 3 of them. Just not a lot of chances, a lot of tight hockey here. I expect the same, especially with the game 7. All the pressure is going to be on both these teams. The Bruins last year blow a 3-1 series lead, get ousted by the Panthers. The Maple Leafs have consistently struggled in the first round, only 1 win since 2016-2017. They have the weight of Canada's world on their back in this game. It's a very talented Leafs team that just has not been able to deliver on that promise. Austin Matthews, a big question mark here. He was pulled in the 3rd period of Game 3 with an illness. He has not played in Game 4, Game 5, or Game 6. He's supposed to be iffy tonight. This is your best goal scorer in the NHL who may not play for the Maple Leafs. However, they've won every game without him. So, maybe they don't really need him too much. We'll see what happens there. I played under first period. I played it at minus 135. It's ticked up to minus 140 now. I played under 5.5 at minus 120. Now it's under 5 at plus 120. That's tough. It's tough to play under 5 in these spots. I would still lean toward the under at the plus 120. And if I'm taking a swing here, I'm playing the Bruins minus 1.5 plus 205. I like the Bruins in this game. I think they're going to win as minus 130. Not a bad price, but because it's a game 7, because everything is on the line, you're going to see the goalie come out of the net a little bit earlier for whatever team is down. If we do have a decisive or a 1-goal or 2-goal lead there later in the third period, it gives the opportunity for the empty net here. I think the Bruins at home, that's going to be the big difference here. The home ice advantage for Boston.
David Alter is your Maple Leafs writer for the Hockey News. So coming through, Austin Matthews does take part in morning skate today, with the latest update being that there is no determination on his status for tonight. That is, but that's it. He was out there and was at least seeing how he feels. So if that changes your opinion on the game at all, we didn't learn anything. Yeah, all we know is that he's trying to give it a go.
And last night it was, we're going to give it a go in the morning and see what happens, right? The interesting thing, like, people complain about the injury reports in other sports. In the NHL in the playoffs, it is upper body injury, lower body injury. Yes. They're sick. That's all you hear. There, you have no idea. Like, it could be the flu, it could be COVID. We don't know. We have no clue what the illness is. So you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt from the injury reports in the NHL during the playoffs.
Hurricanes and the Rangers get going tomorrow. Canes minus 160 on the series price. Rangers plus 140 on the series price. If you're looking to just bet game 1, that is about a coin flip, actually. 115 and 105 there. Hurricanes and Rangers with a 5.5 total. See the Rangers go out and look really, really good in their series. And, of course, the Hurricanes have been good all year.
I am surprised the Canes are this big of a favorite in the series. I'm tempted to play the Rangers here at the plus 140 number. These are two of the best teams in the East. They're both phenomenal across the board. The Canes loaded up on offense at the trade deadline. New York, the Rangers have had offense all season. Both very good goaltenders. Both very deep defensive teams as well. It feels like it's kind of an under series to me. One where I'm interested in playing those first period unders, the full game unders, especially at 5.5 and 1.5. If you get around even money on either of them, worried the juice might get a little crazy toward the unders, especially if we go later in this series. But this should be a phenomenal hockey series with a lot of 1-goal games. It just feels like you want to take the dog. I don't think there is as much separation as that series price is telling you in these two teams.
Canucks and Oilers also get going on Monday. That is Oilers minus 260 on this series price if you think the Canucks can pull the upset in the series, plus 220.
Again, I'm surprised there's this much gap in the series price. You got to remember Vancouver, they had 3 different goalies play in the first round. They had a starting goaltender who came back from injury. Demko was one of the better goaltenders during the regular season. Get injured. He's not going to be available for this series, or doesn't look like he's going to be available for this series. I don't trust this Oilers team to play a minus 260, but they should be the favorite, right? And I don't, as you know, we've been betting against the Predators against Vancouver. I'm not a huge Vancouver fan, so I can't come back on the Canucks at plus 220 either here. This is one where I'm going to try and stay away. I think if I was going to take anything, I'm looking at Edmonton in 6. Vancouver has home ice, so that 6th game will be in Edmonton. You get plus 300 on Edmonton winning in 6.
Yeah, this is currently for game 1. Minus 142, Oilers on the road at the Canucks, plus 120, Canucks at home there with a flat 6 on the total. Of course, another game that we'll talk about a ton tomorrow, but we might as well get your quick thoughts here. Vegas Golden Knights, Dallas Stars, going into game 7. Stars are minus 155 at home as favorites, plus 130. Knights on the road, 5.5 is our total.
Yeah, run to the under. Because that, I think, based on what we've seen today, that ain't going to last at 5.5. This is another one where the juice is going to get loose on the underside. We're minus 120 right now on the under 5.5. Minus 125 first period, under 1.5. I will be playing both of those before it gets out of hand because I think you're going to see both of those numbers bet down. It's going to be hard to find over money in Game 7s, especially if we see tonight's game between the Bruins and the Maple Leafs go over. So I think it makes sense to get in early on both of those. I like the Stars in this game. I think they're the better team. If you look at expected goals, they've been the better team in this series so far. They've just got some unlucky breaks and some poorly timed penalties that they've given up that then Vegas has been able to cash in on the power play. 155, starting to get a little high. I think that actually comes down. I think you're going to see some Golden Knights money. We'll revisit the side tomorrow, but I'm going to play the unders today.
Yeah, it was a little bit, and this was just based off of nothing more than you and a few guests that we've had here on the show over the past couple of weeks, but the Stars, when they were down a couple of games, 13-1 for them to win it all, decided, hey, listen, wasn't feeling great about our Predators' future. So went in and got me a little piece of the Stars here. So I understand. I'm Vegas. I'm supposed to probably be rooting for them, but
you're rooting for money, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm kind of rooting for my money here. So I do have a little bit of interest in the Stars.
Yeah, look, they got as high as 25-1 after they lost the first 2 games. They win game 3, that drops to 11-1. After winning game 4, all of a sudden we saw 9-1. They were 7-1 in the market after game 5. If they get through this series, you're going to see them as the third choice to win the Cup.
When we come back, we're going to continue our Derby talk. Dan Torchman is going to join us. We'll see if he has any differing thoughts from my guy here on the left when we come back. More Derby talk here on The Handle.